Hello, welcome to the Occupied Hexcast. My name is Andrew Wardell, and this evening we're playing DUSTER. DUSTER is a game that I created and will soon be kickstarted and hopefully backed and put out into the world. And tonight we're gonna be playing with it with two very cool players. If you're not familiar with this game, it's a tabletop pen and paper role playing game set in a post-apocalyptic gas punk world that's kind of been rebuilt into a Western aesthetic many years in the future. So without any more delay, let's meet tonight's players. This first player, you may know him from our Better Than Heroes stream, where he plays Kai. He also guests all the time on Stream of Blood. He's also a hilarious comedian, and he's a LeBron James of role-playing games. Please welcome Aaron Urist. Aaron, thank you for playing DUSTER again.
Thank you for having me. I love this game. I'm always excited to play DUSTER.
Yeah, of course. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about the character that you made? The players will be playing level 10 characters again, just to kind of show off the most amount of the talents that you can get in the game. So normally if you were playing in a campaign from level 1, you would have played quite a few sessions by now, anywhere from like 20-ish to 40-ish game sessions. So we're kind of jumping in at a higher level. But who did you bring to play with us tonight?
Sure. Tonight I'm playing Lillburn Graves. He's an older gunman whose lifetime of killing has basically caught up with him, and he is a hunted man.
Love it.
Lillburn not Graves. Getting any younger.
Lillburn Graves. Love it. Great. Our second player, we'll just have a two people for this two shot, which I actually like because it gives the players a lot of spotlight time, a lot of character time. You may also know our next guest from the Better Than Heroes stream, where he live scores it every week. He just makes up music straight out of his head, puts it into the game. It's bananas. He was also my first ever dungeon master, which is crazy. And he's also a fantastic role player. I think one of the best lessons I ever learned in role playing was this next guest, who just showed me by example in role playing not to like win the game, but just to be your character and kind of participate in the story, which he has always been excellent at, not in. Please welcome Jason. Jesus Christ.
Wardell.
I was going to say Jason.
My last name in my thing.
I was going to say Jason Wilhite, which is a different person. And I know, I know who you are, Jason. I'm sorry. My daughter just started school this week, and my brain is pudding. Jason
Thank you,
Wardell, everyone. Thank you. I'm so embarrassed. It's like when you're doing comedy and you start out emceeing and you forget the comic's name who's coming.
You
up
just
on
looked
stage.
At the sheet too.
Nightmare.
Yeah, I should have just said Will Height and gone with it.
I would have changed my name to it probably just to roll with it.
Thank you. Yeah, chat has it right. Old Puddinhead.
Old Puddinhead.
Yeah. I got to get used to this the 7th grade bell schedule. Holy crap. Jason, tell us a little bit about the character you brought.
Would love to. Today I'm bringing Ashen the Revelator, who in game terms is a witchlike, uses kind of witchy powers, but they are formerly of a religious cult, the Reverence, but they found kind of a cursed object out in the wilderness. And from that point, managed to take a lot of head radiation, a severe amount of head radiation, which, in addition to developing their powers, gives them a voice in their head that they recognize to be truly divine. and tells them the way of things and helps them divide right from wrong, and identify those who are good from those who are not.
I love it. These are great characters, amazing characters. Before we get started, if any of you watching have any questions about the game or what's happening in the game or how it works, just ask in chat. I'll try to address them. This game is still a work in progress. Things get tweaked, they get dialed in. It's also a game that maybe you've never heard of or seen played. So if you're like, how does this work? What's happening? I can help you out, or I can also take questions at the end. But these are great characters, so let's just get to it. So you two have formed an outfit. That's kind of what a party is called in this game. It's called an outfit. That means that you've kind of glomped together for whatever reason. And not to put you both too much on the spot, but I would love to hear how you two ended up linking up as an outfit together. We've got this aging gunslinger who has kind of been living on the run, who has a price on his head, and this very unique witchlike who hears a voice in his head and has escaped from the Reverend, who the Reverend is a very large, like you described, basically like a cult. They're a group that kind of came out of the Lost Age with a very, very twisted, grotesque version of Christianity. I should say more grotesque. Hey, version of Christianity that they
Spicy.
That they practice, which is very brutal and regressive and awful. And so by escaping them as being a former member and escaping them, you would also be someone who lives kind of with their footsteps haunted by dangerous people.
Mm. Sure. Well, we should have talked about this beforehand.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
But we didn't have time.
It's not even important to the game.
Okay.
I was just curious.
It is important.
I was just curious if maybe you had any ideas. You could just let us know.
I feel like Ashen the Revelator probably knows a doomed son of a bitch when he meets one.
Absolutely.
You know?
The voice would have told me as much.
Right.
And would have kind of identified the nature of your plight. And Ashen certainly doesn't take kindly to bounties, or those who hunt a bounty. It seems a cowardly way to live a life, and not really standing for anything except for yourself. I could definitely see Ashen, the wandering ascetic, finding you in a similar position, kind of escaping from something, and see a kindred, poor soul, and want to lend you a little luck on your journey.
Right. I think Lillburn Graves would probably be pretty resistant on the surface to that kind of an arrangement, but maybe deep down is, looking for a little salvation.
And Ashen would be utterly immune to any resistance.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What the voice says goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, both of your lifestyles, which are very 70s 70s drama, like the Incredible Hulk, or at the end of every episode he's on to the next town. Your lifestyle of probably having to stay pretty rootless would benefit you both too. You have somebody else that has to live that way. Cool. I like it. So you all have been most recently in this world. There aren't any kind of universal laws there or governing body. So when we reference bounty hunters, it's not so much as you're being taken by authorities. You're just being taken by someone who is basically bribing other people to bring you in dead or alive.
Right.
That's when we reference bounty hunters here. And Lillburn, you used to ride with a very notorious gang known as the Lowry Gang for many years, but you left for your own reasons that maybe you will share at some point. But when you left that gang, nobody just leaves a gang voluntarily, and a pretty rich bounty was put out on you that you've kind of been dodging for 6 years now, and you're getting older, and these bounty hunters seem to be getting younger and quicker, and your close scrapes are getting closer and closer, and most recently. You the most recent attack you barely survived. It was you kind of shooting your way out of a town on horseback. You could just hear the bullets singing around your head, and so you know the source of this trouble. It's the Lowry gang, and you know the brother and sister who run the Lowry gang, Jim and Sid Lowry, and you know where they can be found in the town of Silvergate, which is up by an area known as the Cauldron, which we know now today as the Yellowstone area. But here in this far future, after the whole Yellowstone caldera has erupted, it's known as the Cauldron. So you've been headed in that direction. You've been riding up that way, either pointedly or perhaps you haven't shared with Ashen what exactly the reasons are, but you've kind of been headed up in that northerly direction.
I feel like it's probably come out. I'm guessing Ashen asks a lot of questions.
And he's a witchlike. He can probably get his answers one way or the other.
I don't go in and ask questions without your consent.
Sure.
But you've been riding up in this kind of northwesterly direction for a few days, and in the distance you saw this kind of smudge on the sky, almost as if someone took their thumb and put it in some ink and kind of wiped it on the horizon, but it doesn't move. And as you've ridden closer and closer, it's just grown until you are now at the southern rim of the Cauldron, and the sky above is just like a dirty green ashen color, and before you is just this hellscape. There's no real better way to put it. It's a hellscape with stunted, twisted trees and steam blasts out of fissures in the ground, and you can see there's pools of like bubbling mud here and there, and it's just basically it fills your horizon. This massive area known as the Cauldron. That you two ride up to on your horses. You both have horses. By chance, do your horses have a name?
Yeah, I ride
Yes.
Sparks. Sparks is a common mare, just a good horse.
Great.
My horse is named Sylvia.
Sparks and Sylvia. Perfect. Do either of you have the horsemanship talent?
No.
Do not.
All right. So, however you acquire these horses, they are tame horses, but they are, they're perhaps not the most trained and the most reactive to you. But once you're on them, you can steer them however you'd like to go. They are, they do a fine job of that. So, what would you like to do? We kind of find you here at the at the southern rim of this area.
What time of day is it?
We'll say that it's getting on toward evening, although here you can't tell. It does not seem to the leaden sky does not really seem to change. But as you rode in, you could kind of see that the sun was setting kind of behind you and to the left, so you know that evening is setting in.
And how many days are we from Silvergate, did you say?
You are on horseback. You're probably like a day and a half ride. You would know where Silvergate is because you've been there, and Yeah, why don't you give me a memory roll? So in this game, when players make rolls, they just roll an ordinary d6. If they roll a 1, they subtract 1, making it effectively 0. And if they get a 6, they add 1, making it effectively 7. And there's a range of successes and fails. If they get a 4, I roll the fate dice.
That's a 7.
7. That's about as good as it gets, unless you're particularly smart in the game.
No.
So, yeah, you have not been to Silvergate in 6 years, but you can just remember this area so well. And you know that Silvergate is up around kind of the northern rim of the Cauldron. You know that there are various paths that go kind of straight through the Cauldron, which are treacherous for sort of natural disasters, either fissures or explosions from all of the volcanic geothermal activity going on. Or you can also skirt around the rim of the Cauldron area, which is more prone to highwaymen and robbers of sort, looking for exactly the sort of people who don't want to brave the Cauldron itself.
You make a target of yourself.
I'm not a good target.
So Ashen, throughout the ride, Ashen kind of has a large cloak over their head and kind of keeps shaded as often as possible, and is kind of like pulling it tighter, approaching the blazing heat of the caldera. And you hear them, and Lillburn is certainly familiar with this by now, but almost constantly having some manner of conversation with something, and always an agreement. So it's just yes, I agree. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Sure.
That's a good point.
Lillburn is on the opposite end of the conversational spectrum, for sure. And he has a broad black hat and a sort of graying mustache, and a duster, of course.
It's right there in the name of the game. You got to.
It is.
You got to. Cool.
You make a target of yourself, but I don't like our chances down there. Just again, kind of like shielding themselves against the heat.
Better to get a bullet than to get buried under whatever it is comes up out of the ground down there.
And I trust you will see them, hopefully, before they see us.
Hopefully.
It's how it's been. And I trust that that's the way it will continue to go.
Hopefully.
So kind of.
Cool. So it'll be around. You want to skirt around the side?
Yeah, I think so.
You could go. I mean, generally, and you would know this, you would travel the eastern rim, the western side of it, as it was partially situated in this mountain range that we call the Tetons now, but it is like sort of like shattered and blasted them, and it's just this very kind of imposing, impassable, craggy collection of blasted mountain sides to the west. So yeah, you basically know that if you don't want to go through, you go around to the east.
Got it.
Yeah. So I would advise we wait for the sun to set a little more, just a little more. We're not going to get much shade from the light, no matter where we are, but any assistance we can provide ourselves will be helpful. And I will make mention of one of my talents, which is the Shrouded in Shadow Witchery talent, in that I can touch somebody and then we cannot be snake bit on coordination rolls in the dark. So we can move through the darkness just as well as we could move
Cool.
in the light.
Love it.
And I almost certainly have used this to assist Lillburn and myself in evading capture in the past, and that we can just move through the shadows a little bit more smoothly.
Cool. Yeah, so you can wait, and it's almost like I said, it's almost imperceptible here with the like ash kind of ceiling overhead, but eventually the light does kind of fade away until there's just this kind of like pale glow from wherever the moon is up above all of these clouds, just giving the faintest little a glow over the landscape. But now that darkness has settled in, it's when you look out every now and then you can see the glow of some like a rivulet of lava in the distance, kind of. But in general, it looks like trying to traverse through the cauldron itself in this light would be insanely difficult.
Okay, so I will ride up alongside Lillburn and kind of clap him on the shoulder and say, "Come, friend. It's nearly time for us to finish." And I will expend a witchery point to imbue him with Shrouded in Shadow, so he cannot be snake bit on coordination rolls out here.
Very cool. Great. And how long does that last? Can you remind me?
It doesn't say.
Oh, the game is broken.
We did it.
Everything
We do
else
everything
is
at night.
Everything else has like the first tiers tend to last about an hour, but by the end they last 12 hours.
No one has ever used this very specific thing. Let me look at it real quick. That's hilarious.
Yeah, the standard for the witchery stuff is that once you're a master, it extends the time of it to a longer period of time. I imagine it.
I think it was supposed to be 1 hour.
1 hour. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, apologies. Yeah, everything else in this tier is an hour. I think I just did not. I guess it's infinite. Sorry, rules are rules. We're going rules as written, and the effect is for the rest of your life. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's an hour.
Damn game, man.
Yeah, and you're right.
Also, I was gonna say, as a note, I also have the sneak talent, cool, which makes enemies snake bit on their efforts to see me in the dark due to the third level, which is a shadowed.
Cool. So people, even if they are trying to find you, are going to have a hard time, and your friend Lillburn cannot be snake bit on his coordination rolls. So it gives him a little, if he was in a situation that might hamper him to be sneaky, he doesn't have to sweat it as much, is what that means. Basically, snake bit is like disadvantage in Dungeons and Dragons, and being keen in something is like advantage. So that's what this terminology means. So if I'm a bad guy and I'm trying to find Ashen, thanks to his sneak talent, they're snake bit, so I would roll twice and I'd take the worst result, which in that case would have been a 0. Totally failed. Cool. So y'all are going to travel at night along the rim of this cauldron?
Yeah.
Seems to be the way.
Cool. And Lillburn, your horse, Sylvia, has a kind of a unique quirk about her in that she seems to thrive nocturnally. She kind of like perks up.
She loves the nightlife.
Yeah, she just seems to a little refreshed at night, and she could travel an extra 10 miles at night. So she's could travel a little farther. I mean, I don't know if you'd want to leave your companion behind, as his horse does not have that unusual quirk, but it is an option. Your horse is can travel a bit farther of a distance at night. Yes, this game has a horse quirks roll table. It's I didn't bother to put a time limit on some of the magic shit, but by God, when you get a horse, there is a quirks roll table that you can roll on.
About it.
Mm-hmm.
I covered the important stuff. I got the tough stuff down.
Go ahead and roll on the equine sociopathy table.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Lillburn will allow himself to be under the influence of this he witch.
He witch. I love it. He witch.
You're actually not sure. Ashen has never really referred to themselves in any consistent way.
Yeah,
You definitely
but-
get he sometimes, you get she sometimes, you get they.
Oh.
Once in a while, you've gotten an it.
It witch.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
yeah, I should have been professional and
They
properly gotten
witch.
the pronouns.
They witch.
My bad.
So is Ashen's
Just witch then.
pronoun they?
Typically,
Typically?
but again, that he is not consistent with how she refers to himself.
Cool. Love it. And Lillburn, how about you? You're
I think Lillburn's a he, him.
a he, him. Great.
He's a ye. His pronouns are ye, haw.
There you go. Yeah. Perfect. Cool. So y'all set out easterly along this rim. And as the temperature is cooling kind of quickly, there's a bit of lightning like in the distance. You can see lightning kind of arc down from these clouds into the cauldron itself and kind of illuminate you all in these flashes and throw these like long shadows out. But it seems pretty far in the distance, and you're able to keep riding. And after a few hours of riding without incident, off to your right, a little bit to the east, you could see in one of these flashes of lightning kind of illuminated out on the plains, there's a pack of wild horses, and you could see them kind of just standing there and like and looking at you. They're like flicking their tails, and they're kind of just watching as you are riding along. There's 14 of them.
Wow.
Wow.
Beautiful.
I think Lillburn will just give Sylvia a pat on the neck.
Yeah, she kind of like chuffs, and she's still pretty sprightly because since it's nighttime out. But yeah, this pack, when the lightning is gone, you wouldn't even know they're there except for the occasional like chuff, and then there'll be like another silent flash of lightning, and you can just see them all kind of standing there. And then almost as if there was like a word passed between them, they all like turn and kind of just gallop off east, and they're gone as easily as they appeared.
Can I see if anything, see if I can intuit whether they were spooked by something, or if they were evading something, or if it was just us coming up on their path that led them to turn?
Yeah, give me an
Those horses
intuition
can't
roll.
I am keen in intuition, and I have a +1 to my emotional.
Great. That means your odds of success are pretty good.
Well, I got a 4.
So you got a 4 before. That includes the 1?
That includes the 1.
Great. So anytime a player rolls a 4, I roll the fate dice, which kind of comes down to just a flip of a coin. I know that a witchlike can play with that game mechanic, which is pretty neat. But maybe it's because you don't have the horsemanship talent, or maybe you've traveled on foot for most of your life, but you can't read these horses or their behavior. They seemed very stoic for a moment when you were watching them, and they didn't like scream or neigh. And yeah, horses scream. My neighbors have horses, and they scream like stabbing victims at all hours for no reason. But these horses don't do that. They just wordlessly ran off.
Okay. Yeah, I will also pat Sparks on the mane and say, yes, they are a mysterious sort, much more difficult to read than man.
Fella I knew
Very
used to
true.
talk about spirit horses. Follow doomed folk on the road.
I kind of look behind. I don't believe they're following us now.
Oh, they are. Who knows? That fella said that he'd ride one day. He died, though.
Yes, he did. And that was the end.
Just keep riding.
Keep clapping
not really
along.
Not really much to say after that exchange.
Yeah, eventually the lightning in the
chuckle
distance.
buddies here. We're just thanks for tuning in to the existential dread hour.
I love it. Cool. So y'all just trot on. Yeah, the
Stark contrast from the last character I played on one of these streams.
Oh yeah, which one?
What was his name? I forget his name, but he was a child with a raccoon amalgamated into his torso.
Yeah. What was his name? I'm bad with names tonight.
It's eluding me. I'll figure it out. I'll remember.
Randy. It was Randy. Randy Critter. He had a raccoon fused into his ribs. That was insane. Yeah.
That classic comedy trope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is in the world of Duster. It's like
that's
nothing
the
funnier
like
than
Punch and
somebody
Judy.
with a microwaved raccoon on him. Cool. Yeah. The lightning kind of fades away, so it's very sporadic now, and it cools off quite a bit. And you can just kind of every now and then you'll get like a kind of a warm draft of this like sulfurous wind coming off of the cauldron as you're trotting along. And it's getting on about the witching hour, and you could both give me a focus roll.
Focus.
A focus in this game is one of the skills you use. It's like a perception. It's your ability, to see something that might stick out or hear something that might stand out. It's kind of a general.
I rolled a 4.
That's a 7 for me. Rolled another
7
6
for you. Cool. So you both, I made your fate roll there, Ashen. Excuse me. You hear Ashen, you hear something in the distance. It's kind of like a almost like a grinding sound. It's kind of it's this very like rough, gravelly sound. But Lillburn, you hear it and you know exactly what it is. You know, one of the greatest dangers in the area around this cauldron is bears, grizzly bears, but not just specifically grizzly bears, but the worst of them are these tusked grizzly bears, which have evolved to have these sort of like jutting tusks to help them root out all the various things they eat to maintain their massive size. And you hear from the darkness from your left, from somewhere in the cauldron, you can hear the unmistakable roar of a grizzly kind of reverberating and like rumbling out in your direction.
I was gonna say, has it seen us? Has it spotted us or smelled
is it
us?
like close to us?
You can't tell. You're just going off sound because it's completely dark out beyond. You kind of just hear it almost in the breeze. It doesn't sound immediately close because you kind of had to catch it, but it's certainly not in the far distance.
Which way is the wind blowing?
It's blowing west to east.
Okay.
And
So
from the
direction
sound, it's
of
coming
the
from
bear.
where the cauldron is.
Okay, so the sound is coming from the cauldron, and the
Mhm.
wind is blowing from there to us to the east. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna spur my horse and try to move faster away from the bear. We gotta get away from that thing.
Yeah, I'll also speed up a little bit. Not that I can speed up very much compared to you.
Cool. His immediate speed is not is about the same
He
as yours.
could just go longer, more. Yeah.
But his macro speed, is farther. So you both like put the spurs on your horse and like pick it up. Just as like in the distance, another kind of arc of lightning comes out and lights up the cauldron, and you see what at first you might think of as like a boulder. There's like a boulder rolling across, like tumbling towards you, and you realize it is a bear that's just churning up the cauldron, and you could see its like eyes shining like silver, and you can see it's got these tusks on either side of its jaw. There's two on each side, kind of like poking out, and it's just sort of like thundering in your direction. And I'd like you both to make a reflex roll to get us into this chase.
It's a 5 for me.
Oh my god, I rolled a 1 and a 2 on a keen roll. 3.
And what did you get?
I had a 5.
Ashen 5. Cool. All right. Oh, well, you both did better than this thing. All right, Ashen. So how this works, when this is technically a combat, even though you two aren't actively fighting, you're trying to get away. It's still considered combat because if this bear catches up to you, it's gonna do something horrible to you. So on your turn, you roll 2d6. You add them together. Those are your action points for your turn, and you also get to add 1 action point for every mastered talent you have, and you both have 4 mastered talents because you're playing level 10 characters. So whatever you roll, you're also going to add 4 to that.
Great.
Excellent.
So that is 11 total.
Are we doing this? We're doing that right now?
Well, it's Ashen's turn right now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You can roll. I mean, you can roll
No.
now. Just be ready. No rule against that.
No.
I rolled 11 total. All things.
Great. And that includes the 4
Yes.
that you had. Great.
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, you can use action points to move, and obviously your horse would move. Your horse can move 15 feet for every action point you spend.
Okay.
If you were on foot, you could move 5 feet for every action point, but a horse considerably swifter than a human will run 15 feet. So you could use all 11 action points, and I'll have to put that into a calculator. Whatever 11 times 15 is, I don't know it. It's 165. You could travel 165 feet.
I would like to do so and try to, and maybe a little bit less than that for the sake of moving into maybe more complicated and shielding terrain. So if this thing does catch up, that we're in a more advantageous position, and just kind of being very conscious about where I'm moving so that I have an out.
Cool.
Is that a reasonable request?
Yes, I'll get without needing to roll for it. You've been riding along the rim of the cauldron. You know that to the east is basically plains, just barren scrub brush plains. It's very flat and it's very open. And you know to your left is the cauldron. It has bumpy terrain. There are, like I said, stunted trees and rock ledges and things like that. There is, if you wanted quote unquote cover, it would be in the cauldron, but you also know
that's the direction. So in a straight race, like my horse versus this bear on flat terrain versus this kind of bear, who wins that?
That's a good question that I don't. You could
maybe intuition, or
I'll let you have an intuition on that. You've seen it. You've seen the bear in motion.
I can figure out, like, can I outrun this thing on flat ground?
Cool. Give me that intuition roll.
And that is a 5.
A 5. You've spent enough time on this horse, and you've seen how fast this bear is approaching you. You think that on flat ground, without any incident, your horse foundering in a snake hole or something, you think you would be able to outpace a bear.
Okay.
Given that while the bear can produce bursts of speed, it cannot run at the speed
like
that this horse can. Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, I will signal to Lillburn that that's what I'm about to do, and kind of just take off toward the at an angle away from the caldera.
Cool. So yeah, you just see Ashen just kind of lean down and just like a shadow across the plains. He just is going to gallop 165 feet away, just thundering away. And now, Lillburn, it's your turn. So you roll 2d6, you add them together, and you get 4 additional action points.
All right. I also got 11.
Great. So you can also travel 165 feet. You could basically keep pace.
I will keep pace with
right.
my companion.
Great. So yeah, you just you look over Ashen, and Lillburn's right there next to you, and his horse, compared with your horse, Sparks, who was perhaps a little annoyed to get the heels here at 3 a.m. Sylvia looks downright pleased. Now I will roll for the bear. Oh, bear rolled so terribly. In the distance, as you're thundering away, you kind of hear a fading roar that almost sounds like an annoyance.
Who's gonna make espresso?
As the bear had kind of like ran onto the plains and just kind of watched you both rocket away. And it like stands up, it rears up, it's standing about 13 feet tall, and it's kind of like chewing on air, and it like falls back to all fours and heads back into the cauldron behind you.
So we see it retreat.
Yeah, if you you chance a glance over your shoulder, you can you can see that it's not running after you.
Excellent. I guess just keep riding fast till we're confident that it's not following us, and then
cool. Yeah, you can put some good distance, and your horses, get a good lather going, and you're pretty confident there's no way that bear could have kept up with you.
Okay.
Do I have any idea, given that I have experience in this area, of maybe a safe place to make camp?
I won't make you roll for it because you rolled great last time, and you do know this area. It's really it's a case of what type of risk. There is no safe place. If you camp kind of here in the plains, you're basically out in the open. Anyone who's traveling within eyesight distance might see your camp there. If you venture into the Cauldron, you could probably certainly find a more discreet campsite. Discreet, that's the weirdest word to use. And a more camouflaged, out of the way campsite, but there is a greater chance of something like this apex predator, tusked bear, perhaps coming across you. But it's really it's your call. But as far as like a quote unquote safe camping spot, that doesn't exist around here.
Right.
So that's just going to be Lillburn's call. But it is now, it's past the witching hour. So, Ashen, you can re-roll your witchery points for the day. Excellent. None of your previous points roll over. It's definitely been more than an hour. So, the bit of magic that you put on your companion has worn off. But you can roll, you always roll at the witching hour, unless your character's asleep, you roll, when you wake up. But it's a once a day thing.
Excellent. So I will make that roll. And I got 4, and so I add that to my 3 for my 3 witchery talents.
Yeah, for every witchery talent you have that's mastered, you get an additional 1. So you have 7 to use for the day.
Good. Well,
yeah. So it's up to you. It's now it's past the witching hour. There'll be a couple more hours of this real darkness, and then it'll go back to that dull gray sky that it was before.
We can ride till you're tired.
Me?
Yeah, you. I don't sleep much anymore.
Well, you probably should. By the time we get to Silvergate, you can't be useless.
I mean, I take the rest as required by the rules, but I just kind of lay there thinking real deep gunslinger thoughts.
Yes, that's a good point. They will be very well rested, I assure you. We assure you.
Right. Yeah, they will. They usually are.
Perhaps we make camp. I would not advise the caldera, though. It would be a pity for you to become a meal so close to your goal.
Yeah, that's true. Why are you even doing this? You don't need to be here. I don't know. It's silly to have this conversation again, but
it is the right thing to do.
Right thing to do.
You may not believe in right and wrong and things of that nature, but I assure you, you are worth your redemption and your retribution. You're on a good path, and it is my duty to see it through with you and for you.
Ain't no redemption for me.
No. Retribution, at least. And that's redeeming in its own way, and then it will be over. And then you can rest. And perhaps then I can rest. We'll see.
Rest. Rest sounds good.
Yes. So first camp, and then rest.
Sure, yeah. I guess we'll find a place.
Great. And you're correct if I'm wrong. You wanted to kind of camp here on the flat plains area.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Cool. Yeah, you can go ahead and picket your horses and lay out your bedrolls, I suppose.
Yeah. And can we do some manner? I know it'll be daylight pretty soon. Can we do some manner of like very brief watch, just so each of us gets a little bit of sleep and we keep an eye out on the horizon?
Sure. What's the watch schedule?
I'll go first.
Okay. Cool. Give me a focus roll for your watch there.
Focus. 4.
Cool. So you're just sitting there in the dark. Every now and then, to the west, there's like a spot of lightning, and you kind of, as you're on watch, you probably give it 360 degrees of attention, turning every now and then. And when you're looking kind of north in the distance on the plains, you can just see the faintest twinkle of fire. Like, it's unmistakable when someone has a fire going out on the plains at night. It's a risk for that reason, because it can be seen from very far away. But you just see the telltale twinkle of fire, just far to the north of you.
Sure. Yeah, I'll keep watch with that in mind, and cool. Try to remember the last time that I slipped by fire.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it makes you a little jealous. And
I won't wake up Ashen the Revelator, but I will relay the location of the fire to them upon our exchange of the watch.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, the fire does not seem to be moving or anything. It's just twinkling there in the distance. And and your watch otherwise passes without incident, and you can wake up Ashen if you want. You could catch some sleep.
All right.
Thank you. I was worried you would attempt to take the whole watch. I appreciate you not.
You're welcome. There's a fire over there. Either somebody confident or foolish.
And so this is something you haven't seen me do before, and it probably, I don't want to tell you if it frustrates you or not. I kind of like you say something in the distance, and I listen up, I look up like I'm listening. Oh, of course. And I reach into my pack and pull out a spyglass that I've just had with me the whole time. And I use it to look out toward the fire.
Cool. So you can give me a focus roll, and with that spyglass, you get to add an extra 1 to it.
So that is a total of 3.
Okay. So yeah, you kind of look. It's so far away that even with the spyglass, you just kind of see like a bit of a larger campfire. It looks like a campfire, not a wildfire. But you can't see who might be around it or anything. It's like so far that, when you're looking at something super zoomed in, that had the smallest hand movement makes everything move. It's like it's considerably far away, and
I'm certainly not steady in my motions. I have probably like little jerky ticks every now and then, and it really gets in the way of holding a spyglass.
But yeah, you can just kind of confirm that it is a campfire, but that's about all you can get out of it.
Don't let it distract you.
Fair enough.
Sometimes folks set fires to distract night watch.
I kind of turn to the horses and say, "You'll let us know, right?"
And
Yes.
they're kind of like,
Thank you.
And Sylvia's kind of like pawing at the dirt, like kind of wondering why she stopped. Cool. Yeah, the rest of your watch passes without incident, and the sun has come up somewhere, although from where you are, it's just kind of like a gradual lightening of the world around you, and there's just this this dirty gray sky above you, and this sort of like bleak landscape all around you. And as you two have woken up, we'll take a quick break, take a little bathroom intermission, about 3 minutes. Grab a fresh drink. Thank you all for watching, those of you who are watching, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Cool.
And we are back from the intermission and ready for part 2 of part 1 of this game. Please welcome back Jason Wardell.
Part 1 of the prequel.
Yeah. And Aaron Urist.
Part and parcel of part 1 of part 2.
You two have been traveling around the rim of the Cauldron. You had a close scrape with a tusked grizzly bear that fortunately you heard before it slammed into you. And yeah, the light has increased so that it is now daytime, and yeah, you can continue on if you like.
I'd like to give another look in the direction of where we saw the campfire last night, just see if there's anything as the light is kind of raising. See if there's any additional movement. Feeling a little insecure about how poorly I was able to look overnight. Is that
you could definitely tell that the fire's gone, but yeah, you could take a look through your spyglass and give me a focus roll with a +1.
And that's a 4. Lots of 4s.
Oh, I love rolling those fate dice. Yeah, you kind of are like searching, and again, it's kind of like jiggling around, but you don't see anything on the horizon. Nothing catches your eye.
I kind of like look at it and shrug, and I'm just going to hand it to Lillburn. I suspect this will be better used by you.
I'll take a look.
Cool. Yeah, you can go ahead and give me a focus roll +1.
4.
Wow, I love it.
Thanks for that +1.
Yeah, you kind of scan the horizon as well, and you don't see anything. Just ugly
Got nothing.
gray scrub brush. You don't see anything necessarily concerning out there in that direction.
Yeah, I'll stand up and hand back the spyglass. Whoever it was must have already left early.
And I'm gonna turn it down. Like, no, this is for you.
I actually already have one. I rolled the same thing on the starting item table. Here, I'll give you mine. How about that?
I have 3 more actually. I don't. This is superfluous.
Oh my god! You got some multiplying
That's all I rolled.
spyglass.
Just all spyglasses.
Ding 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 ding.
Oh, you're being serious. Well, here, you give me those spyglasses and you hang on to this one.
Very good.
You can keep the ones too.
Did you really roll more than one spyglass on the? Oh, okay,
Just
I was
just
like,
the one.
that's crazy. I didn't even know that was possible.
So what I will do is I'm getting up and I keep myself as cloaked and kind of sheltered from the elements throughout the night even, and it's definitely that I'm hiding. But as I wake up, you'll see me lift up the large chain that I carry and kind of like slide it under my hood, and you see just a glimpse of my purely bare, hairless, and slightly enlarged, irradiated head as I don this very large iron chain and kind of like wrap it around my waist once.
I love it.
And then, like with that added weight, I kind of go to saddle my horse.
Nice. And do you want to tell us now, if you want to describe this chain a little more and kind of what what happened?
Yeah. So this chain, you notice is just very. The chain itself is very simple, iron links, but at the end of it there is just this huge chunk of kind of like smashed metal. That looks like it was hewn in half at some point. It's like, kind of like a crescent moon shape almost, and I have it affixed to the end of the chain with kind of like smaller metal bands. In Lillburn, I would have certainly
love metal bands. Yeah, why? How come you carry that thing?
It's part 1 of 2. This is what gave me my gift. This is what gives me the voice. And then I also kind of lift up my walking stiff, which is another kind of like crude staff that has a 4-pointed star, a similar iron emblem at the top. I found this. The light brought me to this, and it made me the way I am.
The star or the chain?
The iron, the meteor is a holy relic. I followed it from the heavens to the earth. And now I am this, and what is before was before, and what is to come is to come.
Yeah.
It's safe though. I will keep you safe from it.
Maybe I'm wrong, Ashen, but you've probably told this to Lillburn quite a few times. It's almost like a memento situation of you, and Lillburn kind of just has to kindly humor you with hearing the story again.
Sure.
Yeah, probably every morning as I put the chain back on and pretend that you don't see my weird misshapen head.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, well, I'll mount up. At least you carry yours on the outside.
So Lillburn, as you mount up, you're probably less than a full day's ride from Silvergate, a city you haven't been to in about 6 years, a city that was taken over by the Lowry gang, who they were your family, for all intents and purposes, your kin. What's going through Lillburn's head as his horse starts to trot toward Silvergate? You know that Jim and Sid Lowry have they've certainly have not forgotten about you, because those bounties, they keep getting refreshed on the bounty boards, and you're just being hounded. So it's clear that their anger over your, I don't know if you'd call it a betrayal or desertion, has not cooled down.
Yeah, I think Lillburn is thinking, I mean, it's a lot of business about how the best way is to get into Silvergate and live long enough to put a bullet in Jim Lowry. That's
and you'll
pretty
know
much all there is left.
Yeah. And it's a tall order. The gang is, taken over the town, and at least when you left 6 years ago, you knew that pretty much everyone who resided in that town was a member of the gang. So,
and I think maybe in order to do that, Lillburn Graves only carries a pretty simple, worn-looking 6-shooter pistol, and I think that when he left, the Lowry gang kept his guns, and he'd like to get those back.
Oh, nice. Yeah, maybe you can tell us the particulars of how you managed to get away or what you did, but however it was, maybe necessitated a running away with just the clothes on your back, and counting yourself lucky. So yeah, y'all are gonna continue on.
Yeah,
I reckon so.
Cool. All right, y'all just ride on under this slate gray clouds that seem almost so low that if you were to reach up, you could put your fingers in them, although they aren't that low. And every now and then you can just hear like a hiss or like an explosion of mud from the cauldron nearby as this very unstable area is reacting. And after a couple hours of riding up ahead without needing to roll or use the spyglass, you could see someone heading in your direction, also traveling along the rim of this cauldron. It's in this gray light, they're almost just like a silhouette. You could see that they're pushing a cart, and they're kind of coming along the rim in your direction.
A cart?
Yes, it appears that they're on foot, and they have like a push cart.
Seems common enough, folk. Nothing for you to be concerned about.
The hell is oak?
Common folk.
Folk. Oh, I don't know. I never know who the hell you're talking up to or about.
Cool. Y'all just want to continue on this sort of intercept course?
Yeah, I mean,
probably worth at least checking in.
Yeah, we'll ride by, I suppose.
Cool. Great. As you come near, you can hear a great deal of like clattering and clanking coming. You can see that there is this like hand cart. It's battered on mismatched wheels. It's kind of like bumping along. You can see there's like various cans hanging off of it, and there's like nets with a variety of items inside, and you can see there's a very stooped figure with a kind of a threadbare hood, kind of like hanging over their face as they're pushing this cart in your direction, and you can hear everything clanging along, and you can also hear they're sort of like humming to themselves, like as they're kind of approaching you, and it seems like they might even go like right by you because they're looking down, And almost when they're parallel to you, they kind of like pause, and you can kind of see like an ancient wrinkled face peering at you two from beneath the hood, and almost as if like you snuck up on him, and he's kind of like looking at you with these like little glittery, kind of like coal black eyes. And Lillburn, you give me a memory roll.
That's a 1 for me.
Cool. Yeah, he's very very old looking fella is kind of regarding you both, and with his little shiny eyes, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you two." I just Ashen with his cloak and hood on, and the chain wrapped around it is he can't quite make out who this like slight figure is, but he can see you, Lillburn, and he's like, "Oh, hey there, sorry, didn't see you two there." And he kind of pauses, and he kind of stands up, and you can hear, it sounds like 17 vertebrae kind of like cracking and popping, and he kind of wipes the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand, and he's like, "Well, my name's Wilt. I'm just trading. I don't suppose y'all would have anything looking to trade, looking to get rid of, looking to lighten those bags." And he's kind of like looking at your saddlebags and your packs.
Looking for spyglasses?
I'd never say no to a spyglass. You got one? Got glass in both ends?
Perhaps. Maybe. I'm uncertain as to its quality. I don't seem to be able to get much out of it. But perhaps time for trade. What? Do you come from Silvergate?
He kind of like is rubbing his hands together already, kind of like in anticipation of a deal. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I make the rounds. I make the rounds through Silvergate. That's where you boys headed?"
We ain't headed nowhere.
From headed.
What did you say? You're from headed?
We're from there, headed there. It all amounts to the same.
Oh,
and again, just casting like very serious kind of like non-answer vibes at him.
Yeah, and he's kind of seems a little confused by the your kind of vague answer, and Lillburn's kind of gruff answer.
Mine was probably under my breath.
Okay, yeah. He's like, "Well, hey, where y'all headed? Ain't none of my business anyway. But I mean, I'll make all the rounds in this part. This whole area's where I trade. But yeah, I mean, you can always find me in Silvergate if I need a roof over my head."
It's been a while. How is the town?
He's kind of like looking from side to side, like he's not sure how to answer the question, like it's a trick question. Well, it's still a town, and there's still folks in it. Can't ask for much more than that. You said y'all were from Silvergate?
No, I suppose you can't ask for much more than that. And he kind of reaches in and grabs their spyglass, and kind of like glances it over and kind of like tosses it in at Wilt's direction.
And despite his like old and kind of crooked body, like Wilt catches it like very deftly, almost like an insect. He kind of like snatches it up, and he's kind of like looking it over, and he's like tapping on the glass and basically doing everything with biting it to like check it out. And he's like, "Oh, this is great. I'll trade you for this. What y'all looking to get? I got some H. I mean, smells clean. I got some fire water. I got antidote. What are you boys looking to get into? I got a little leaf. I know I got some tonics."
Can I do an intuition on Wilt and just see kind of whereby he comes by his wares? Is he a legitimate trader, or is he just kind of like, is he above board, I guess, is what I'm looking for. I'm trying to get a read from the voice on him. What does the voice tell me about him?
For sure. Give me that intuition roll.
So that is a 5.
Great. Wilt seems Wilt is a hawk. A hawk is a type of person in this world who trades and engages in commerce type bartering activities. You've surely met and dealt with many hawks in your day, and they vary from outright scumbag liars to very reputable, very helpful people. And you could tell the Wilt is maybe a little on the slippery side, just the vibe that you get, but he's looking to trade, and he's for little touches, like for example, he said that the H he has, which is water, the water he has smells clean. He's kind of like already kind of getting out of trouble if the water you trade for him gets you sick from radiation. So he's kind of a creature of his habitat, you could say, as you look around this particularly ruined place, which in this world is saying something. Him being out here, you would reckon this is probably about as good as a person in his line of work would get.
Okay.
But you can also tell that he's very nervous about the questions with Silvergate, as if he's kind of Silvergate is run by a murderous gang who has taken over the town, and so to ask questions about it, is putting him in a precarious place of he doesn't want to get killed by you two right now for saying the wrong answer, and he doesn't want to get killed the next time he goes into Silvergate by the real murderous folks who live there. So you can kind of get that vibe.
Awesome.
But yeah, he's kind of gesturing at his card. He's like, What are you boys looking for? You got anything else?"
Kind of glancing over the sketchy wares.
Yeah, he has those things that he said he does. He's like showing a variety of things to you.
I kind of turn to Lillburn and just kind of gesture, like, "Do you need anything?"
Lillburn shrugs. Need the same things any man needs, but do I have any money?
You would have your starting bolts. Well, you get bolts to start with, but since you're level 10 characters, I think you could have amassed more than that. Lillburn, I'll go ahead and give you 11 slugs, which are bullets. And Ashen, I will give you 20 more bolts. Bolts are like the most common currency in this world. They generally, their only use is to be traded, unlike other goods, which have a more specific use. Like you trade slugs, but you also use them as bullets.
Right.
And they are more valuable as a result.
So I'll probably pull out just kind of a fistful of bolts and just say like 8 or so, however many I can kind of get in my hand and look at them like with disregard, like I don't care what these things are. Perhaps the spyglass and a few bolts for information. We're not looking to get you into hot water out in Silvergate, but we need to know a few things about it.
You know the deal they'll give you up there. And I think that the Lowry gang has a famous way of sort of making an offer that a person cannot refuse, which is to offer them 1 slug and ask them how they want it.
I love it. Is that what you do for him now?
No, I'm not going to do that to him.
Okay.
But I'm going to allude to that.
Okay.
Not that I would do it, but that's how they do it up in Silvergate.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Yeah, you probably, back in your day, you probably made a lot of people that deal and gave it to them the way they didn't want.
Can I roll a persuasion to kind of get him to start talking a little bit?
Yeah, totally. Give me that persuasion. He's like, this is an unusual request for him.
Mm-hmm. So I rolled a 4.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'll give you that fate roll. All right. Yeah, he looks kind of like real uneasy, kind of, and he's like, well, I don't know. I reckon I'm not really the sort to talk about what happens to other folks' business. Well, I wouldn't go talking with other folks about our business here, right? And he's looking at you after you mentioned the way of doing business, Lilburn. Wilt is like looking at you, and he's kind of like chewing on his own upper lip, and he's just kind of looking at you. And he's like, have we met before, stranger? I feel like you and I maybe have done business before. Will? I'm Will? You where? And he's kind of looking at you. And then he kind of like his face goes slack and his like mouth kind of falls open, and you can just see he's got like 4 teeth, and he kind of like stumbles back a few feet and kind of like trips on a little rock and like falls on his back, and he like gets up and kind of scrabbles around the cart, and he's like looking at you, and his face is like a more sickly color than the sky overhead, and he's like, Hellzone? And that was the name, your nickname when you ran with the Lowry gang was Hell's Own. And he has recognized you as such, as he's sort of cowering behind the cart.
Mm. I'm going to sort of reach out to Ashen for the spy gas and the bolts that he was going to offer the gentleman.
Yeah. And I'll kind of take them back, and
I'm gonna dismount my horse and sort of walk around to him, and
he's kind of like backpedaling, and he's holding his arms up. He's going, no, hey, I take whatever you need. Take whatever you need out of the car. Just leave me be. Just leave me be.
I don't want your goods, Sailor Man. I want to know what's going on in Silvergate.
He's kind of like...
And I want your word that you didn't see us out here on the road.
No, he's not even like looking at you. He's kind of just like looking down and to the side. He's like, no, hell, no, I wouldn't. I'm not even headed to Silvergate. I mean, you know that Jim Lowry has a price out on you, right? Is that where y'all are headed right now?
What's that price at now?
I mean, hell, it's at this point, it's he'll outfit you with whatever you want. He's got some bikes, and hell, he's got himself an armory at this point. A manhunter could kind of get set up however they want.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the town's, I reckon it's about the same as you left it. I mean, ever since y'all took over, y'all killed everyone there. It's just been Lowry gang ever since. I mean, they built a big old pit and a saloon. They call it the Feast. They throw folks in there. They make them fight bears and red cats and such. It's kind of the main draw there in town. But is that why you come back to square up with Jim Lowry?
Ain't no squaring up with Jim Lowry.
He's like, I'm just saying, old Jim never leaves town. And hell, it's got to be at least 80 guns in town with him. Lowry gang ain't done nothing but grow since you left.
That boy always had vision.
Yeah, I mean, folks come into town, they don't really seem to be given much of a choice. They get thrown in that pit, or they join up, take up a gun.
I'm going to sort of lean in and hold out the spyglass and the bolts.
And he's kind of like still has his hands up, and he's kind of like pushing them away as if you're offering him a highly radioactive item. And he's like, no, I don't need to trade. I was gonna be on my way, and hell, I won't tell nobody I saw you out here.
You should take it. What's that?
He would. I have it on strong authority, he would say. But that's okay. He won't know we were here. He won't know you were here. He won't remember me. And I kind of like go and kind of push the spyglass and the bolts kind of like over his hands and into the cart. And in doing so, I put my hand onto Wilt, and I use my my witchery power of I was never here, specifically having him forget Lillburn Graves, that he ran into him.
Oh, hell yeah. That is a great use of a cool power.
And he can remember me. He doesn't know me.
Yeah, he'd never met you before.
And I, as I'm pushing the spyglass and the bolt, I say, for your conversation to a weary traveler on the road who has been away from a good talk for so long. And I'll take some of the H too.
Cool. Yeah, he's got cans. He's like, oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, and he's like looking at the spyglass, and he seems to have kind of forgotten his initial aversion to it when Lillburn was there, and he's kind of like looking over. He's like, yeah, take you could take two cans of that H for this. No, not those cans over there. Take the cans there on the end. Those are the good ones.
More than generous. Yeah, I'm going to trust him on that one.
Cool. Yeah, he kind of like that. As soon as you use that witchery on him, he's sort of just back to being a traitor, and he's not even. He kind of like walks right by you, Lillburn, kind of like again like humming to himself, having just made a deal, and he's like starts like pushing his rattling cart again. And he's pushing it in like a southerly direction.
Cool.
I'll get back on my horse.
Cool.
The situation sounds dire, but it's fair.
It does. You should get clear.
No.
Once we get to Silvergate.
That's not where my fate lies.
If you say so.
I don't. We do.
And I'll spur my horse forward.
Cool. Yeah, you're all just gonna keep heading on.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you just ride along over the better part of the afternoon. It kind of like heats up again, and there's just this like just overbearing odor of like sulfur in the air, just this terrible like eggy stink from the cauldron next to you. And you can kind of tell it's getting late in the day. Again, you can't see the sun in particular, but you can just tell by the way the lights kind of shifted a bit. And you're kind of like rounding the kind of northerly curve of the cauldron here, and you know that Silvergate is not far off. And you can both give me a focus roll as you're trotting along here.
It was a 3 for me.
That's a 1 from me.
Ooh.
Cool. Yeah, so you are both kind of trotting along, and in the distance you see just the quickest glint of I know Lillburn would recognize this, but Ashen, I don't know necessarily. Probably Ashen would probably recognize this too because he has 3 of them in his saddlebag. But there's the telltale glint of like light on glass in the distance that either means that someone is looking at you with a rifle that can shoot a very far distance, or with a spyglass. But you can just see it in the distance, kind of up ahead. And then like a half second later, there's a kind of a cloud of dust that you can see kind of that's like floating up. That's all you see.
From where?
From up ahead in the direction that you're headed. It would seem, you could just surmise someone has just seen you at a distance and has ridden away at speed.
We're spotted.
We were going to be. This doesn't change much.
That's true. I guess we'll keep going.
Yeah, I'm trying to...
I don't...
Yeah,
I'm real good at killing and not much else.
Yeah, Ashen, now that you're kind of in this this stretch here, you know that the town is not far off. It almost seems kind of like a death march with your companions sort of singular focus on heading toward this town.
So I guess I'm gonna see what is the voice telling me about this, where we're going, kind of like an internal intuition. Like, if we just continue on this path, we're probably just going to get blasted the second we're within sights, right? Like that's kind of what I'm feeling. That was a 6, not a natural 6.
You got a 6. Your intuition tells you, if you were you've been told now by somebody who was just there that the gang controls the town. It's it's a town full of this gang of people, and what they particularly like to do recreationally is throw people in a pit and pit them against vicious animals in their saloon, which they call the Feast. So you can kind of guess that, like, you could be shot on sight once you get into town, or you could get thrown into this pit. Those seem to be the 2 most common outcomes. But I'll give you this also with your intuition. You also realize that you're standing on a curve, like a curved trajectory, and the person that just spotted you has taken off running. They were also on the rim of this, and you kind of realize that if you were so inclined, you could cut straight across through the cauldron and try to cut that person off, or possibly catch up to them, just for the sheer reasoning that a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points.
Sure. I'll share that information with Lillburn. As if the scout gets there before we do, we don't have any chance.
You're right. You're right. And I will deviate the course to cut through the caldera.
Yeah, I'll follow.
Cool. You're going to ride at speed as fast as you can?
Oh boy.
We're going to...
I'd say ride smartly, but...
Yeah. It's not like an all-out...
As much speed as we can muster safely. I mean, and maybe not even that safely.
Try to sort of walk doing anything other than moving very slowly through here, I'm guessing, is pretty dangerous. So,
would it be like?
Yeah, I'd say without needing to roll for it,
probably moving at a relatively dangerous speed, but not full on suicidal.
Cool. I'll give you this just because you could tell, how fast these horses travel, and how far in the distance you saw that plume of dust. If you wanted to catch up to that person and or cut them off, it would take a dangerous level of speed because they're riding on flat ground around the rim of this, so their horse is traveling basically as fast as they can kick it. So even though you're traveling a shorter distance, you will still need to travel at a good clip, which would have some danger to it.
I mean, ain't no point doing it otherwise.
Right. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
I totally forgot to have you guys make your mount up rolls. Oh well. It's a streaming game, and I don't want to.
I just didn't want to interrupt the action.
I can't.
When you don't have the horsemanship talent, you have to make a coordination roll to mount up, or you can't get on, which would be a hilarious way to run the stream with a good 7 minutes devoted to players unable to,
especially given the sort of tone of this game overall so far. Just have a brief interlude of yakety sax, Lillburn trying to get on his horse.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Cool. Y'all are gonna cut through?
Yes.
We're cutting through. Let's go for it.
At dangerous speed, as you say.
Great. So you kind of just yank the reins and just gallop down. There's just a sort of like fairly steep slope of like loose shale and rock, and for a minute, like your horses kind of slide sideways in it as they're like scrambling, and they catch their footing and just start like rocketing you through. And almost as soon as you're down into the cauldron, there's like a large jagged fissure next to you that just erupts in steam as it like blasts out, and it just kind of like soaks you both as you're riding. And I want you each, I'm just gonna have you each give me 3 coordination rolls. Just roll them and tell me what you get.
Coordination.
Me too.
Great. So you get to roll twice and take the better of the 2.
4 for the first one.
Okay.
7 for the second one.
Okay.
Wait, did
And 5
6
for the third one.
6 for the first one. 6 for the second one. And 6 for the third one.
Ooh.
Cool. Great. So
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
you both are coming through as it almost seems like the landscape itself is like hell-bent on killing you as the ground is treacherous. And at one point, you're riding across what you thought was like sort of a crusted mud-covered rock, but then you realize that similar to a lake that's just frozen over a bit, this crust is almost like a salt with like boiling mud beneath, and your horses are literally running across this disintegrating surface as it's like crumbling around, and you manage to make it to the other side. And as you ride, you could see there's a man on a black horse, and he has seen you two coming and kind of making a beeline towards him, and he's pretty much laying on his horse, kind of trying to ride it as fast as it will run, as you are riding close. And now that you have kind of closed in on this fellow, go ahead and give me a reflex roll. Wow, the bad guys rolling like absolute urine tonight.
5.
And a 4.
Great. Lillburn, you're up first. I will say that you are, I'll say you're about 80 feet behind this guy as you're kind of coming up and out of the treacherous cauldron area.
All right. So roll for action points first, right?
Yeah, always.
Ooh.
And you're up next, Ashen, and you, if you want, you can pre-roll your action points. There's no rule against that.
That's going to be 14.
Great.
All righty. 80 feet, huh?
80 feet.
What is the range of my pistol?
On your 6 gun, I believe, let's see. The ranges on the guns are not like they are in real life. This is one thing that has been kind of nerfed for the sake of the gameplay. because otherwise combat in the game could take place over
far.
like truly hilarious distances. So I'll tell you the range on a pistol. I'm looking it up. Okay.
50. It's 15 feet on a horse per action point, right?
Yes, and your gun is good up to 100 feet. You could shoot it up to 300, but you'd be snake bit on that damage roll.
I think I'm actually
he is within range of your gun.
All right. So using 6 of my action points, I'm going to get in front of this guy.
Great.
And I'm going to point a pistol at him and tell him to stall that horse.
Oh, you're going to ride into his like trajectory?
Yeah, I'm going to get ahead of him and tell him to stop.
Cool. Yeah, it seems he's not going to stop as you like get in front of him. You can decide.
I'm like, you better stop, and he doesn't stop. And I'm like, all right, and I guess I'll shoot him.
Cool. Yeah, it's unclear if would just let his horse charge into the side of you and take his chances, or if he's going to cut at the very last second. But he's definitely not pulling back on the reins.
I'm going to do an unfortunate thing, and I'm going to shoot his horse in the leg.
All right. So if you want to specifically...
Urist does not like violence against horses, but I don't think Lillburn Graves especially
if you want
cares
to
in this situation.
Specifically shoot any target anywhere, you have to take what's called careful aim, and it takes some extra action points.
I think actually Lillburn Graves does not want to shoot a horse. I'm going to try and shoot him in his hands so he can't guide the horse with the reins.
Great. So that'd be an arm. Yeah, you aim. You have to take careful aim.
His arm.
Cool. He's got the reins clutched in his right arm.
And how much does it cost to take careful aim? I do reduce the cost.
I don't know. What are your 4 talents?
Ranged weapons, shootist, duelist, and death dealer.
Cool. So I believe it only costs you 2.
Right. Okay.
Then I have...
that means I have enough to take careful aim and fire.
Yeah. So it would cost you 7 action points to shoot at his right arm specifically.
Cool.
I like how diverse our 2 skill sets are.
Yeah.
I have all witchery, you have all gun.
Perfect.
Good. Yeah, it's probably what has led to your long relationship.
Give him the old witch gun. Which gun? This one. Bang.
Nice. All right. Nice.
All right, so now I shoot him with my gun.
So just give me a damage roll. That's both your roll to hit and the damage you do.
That's gonna be a 7.
Ooh, boy. All right. So yeah, you just the bullet. We'll say it hits him in the hand if that's where you wanted. It's anywhere on that right arm, but yeah, you kind of like blast him in the hand, and like the reins go flying as he like grabs his like wrecked hand with his left arm. Cool. Is that your turn? You want to do anything else?
I'll use.
I will say this: you are still in his travel path because that's where you stopped.
Right.
So
well, I'm not stopping. I'm riding ahead of him.
Yeah. So you like rode ahead and kind of like intercepted his course.
Right.
To tell him to stop.
Yeah, I'm shooting back, looking back at him.
Cool. Great. Anything else? Did you have any points to roll over? You can roll over up to 6.
I have 1 point to roll over.
Great. So you rolling over 1. Ashen, it is your turn.
Cool. Well, I rolled 10 action points. Not a ton, but I think it should be enough. So he's 80 away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 6 AP for me to get there on horse.
Plus 10 feet, right?
You go 15 feet for every action.
Right. I just meant
so,
if it's never mind.
So 30, 60, 90. So yeah. So 6 AP. I will do that to get up to him. And do I have enough AP?
I should have shared the. There's like a handy cheat sheet for.
I mean, I'll let you tell me this, Andrew. Then, do I have enough AP to kind of like try to knock him off of his horse with my chain?
Yeah, that costs 4 AP, so I believe you have exactly 4 left. So, yep,
My
you
chain
can do
is
that.
-1 damage.
Great. So you just roll damage dice. That's just 1d6, and
So
you
I
subtract
rolled
1.
a 6.
So that'd be a 7.
-1, so 6.
Yeah. So that's 6, and that crits. So roll on the body location table. You just roll a d6 and tell me what you get.
And I rolled a 6.
That's in the head. So you
Oh.
just come up next to this
Oh,
guy
no.
Oh my
as
God.
he's as he's holding his like wrecked right arm. You take out this like wicked, nasty iron. It's the staff with the star on it, right? Which
So
end
no,
do you
this
hit him
is
with?
the one that has kind of like the half moon,
Right, the half moon shape of iron.
meteorite.
And just there's almost like the sound of a bell. You absolutely brain this dude. And he just goes flying off the horse. He just like gets ejected off the horse and just tumbles ass over heels through the brush and everything as his horse runs panicked off. It easily avoids you, Lillburn, now that it doesn't have a rider on it. And this guy is just lying there seemingly dead.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride up to him and dismount.
Cool. Yeah, he's not moving.
I'm gonna turn him over with my foot.
Cool. Give me a focus roll.
4.
Cool. Yeah, he's at first you're like, oh, he's dead. Like the whole side of his face, there's just like this like gash, and you could just see the skin purpling like all around his face, and there's just kind of like this like splatter of blood going across the forehead, and he's like quite limp. You've turned over your share of dead bodies with the toe of that boot before. But then you could tell that there's just like the smallest bit of rise and fall in his belly from him like breathing. He is unconscious.
All right. I don't recognize this person, do I?
Why don't you give me a memory roll?
That is a 4.
Boy, all the 4s coming out tonight. You do recognize this man. In fact, you remember his name is Wayne, and he was kind of a younger member of the gang when you were kind of a senior member of the gang. You didn't have a lot of interactions with him, but you went out on raids with him. You certainly rode in groups with him. He wasn't anything exemplary, really. He was definitely the kind of guy you'd send out for scout duty like this. He was just kind of decent at most things. But yeah, he's like aged a bit. You know, you can kind of see that he's got definitely a little bit more gray on him, but he's quite a bit younger than you.
I'm going to, as if I've done this many times before, I'm going to flip him back over on his belly. I'm going to disarm him and quickly run his pockets.
Cool. He had a 6-gun and a holster on his hip, and he had a gun belt that was full of slugs, had 10 slugs in it. He also has a knife in his boot.
Yeah, and I'll sort of stick the knife. I'm going to just take off the whole gun belt.
Cool.
And just put it around myself. Probably have to let it out a little bit. And go ahead.
I was going to say his 6-gun seems like it's maybe a little higher quality than yours, but not in a mechanics for the game kind of way. But it's certainly yours is pretty old and battered, and his it seems definitely a bit fresher.
Sure. And I'll sort of put my knee on his back and wake him up.
Cool. Yeah, it takes a bit, and then finally there's like this awful sound as he groans into the dirt. It's like, and he's kind of like twisting, and with his like left hand, he reaches for his gun, but it's just an empty holster, and he's kind of like patting himself, and he kind of realizes his situation, and he kind of just sticks his hands out to his side.
Hey there, Wayne.
And he kind of like, there's like a moment, he can't see you because, you know, you're standing on his back, but it takes a moment for your voice to kind of like sink in on him. And then he kind of like stiffens under your boot. And he's like, Hellzone? Lillburn? Lillburn, is that you?
You want to make a slug, Wayne?
No, I'm not looking. I saw when you were riding up. I thought that can't be Lillburn Graves. What would he be doing coming on back to Silvergate? What are you doing back here, Lillburn?
You know what I'm doing here. You rode off fast as you can to tell Jim Laurie that Lillburn Graves ain't coming. Is that right?
Well, any folks we don't know, we see riding up, it's my job to go tell them folks are coming in. But when I looked at you through the glass,
feast, were you?
What's that?
Not preparing the feast for us, were you?
He kind of chuckles dryly around half a mouthful of pretty loose teeth, and he's like, "Hell, I don't know what folks would prepare for you. My job's just to ride back, tell folks you're coming in. Wouldn't shoot a fell over that, would you?"
That depends. What's the situation in town, Wayne?
He kind of laughs again in the dirt and groans in the pain of like moving his jaw, and he's like, "What's the situation in town, Lillburn? It's the same as you left it. Jim and Sid are running the gang, and they aim to kill you, Lillburn. That's hell. They've been trying to smoke you out for years now. Come on."
Don't play games with me, Wayne. And I'm gonna cock my pistol in his ear.
What are you looking for me to say, Lillburn? I mean, that's the situation in town. The Lowrys are still running the town.
I want you to imagine. You know how to imagine, Wayne?
Yeah, hell, I do it. I'm out here with my goddamn horse alone all day. Yeah, I know nothing but imagining.
I want you to imagine that you was me. All right?
All right, I'm you. I'm set. Hell, I'd let Wayne go. That's the first thing I'd do. I'd say, "All right, Wayne, you can get out of here."
Now, if you were me and I was you, what would you want to know?
I mean, is you fixing to do what it sounds like you're trying to do? You trying to kill old Jim? And he's kind of trying to twist around to kind of get a look at you, but he can't really like turn around. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yep.
And he kind of shakes his head and like thinks for a minute. Give me a persuasion roll, and you can be keen in it because of the situation that you're in.
5.
5. After like a long minute, he kind of thinks, and he's like, "Hell, I know your word. I know your word ain't worth shit, Lillburn. But if I tell you something and they catch you and they're like peeling your face off or something, you wouldn't tell them. You wouldn't tell them old Wayne told you, right?"
One way or another, you ain't gonna see me again.
He kind of swallows at that, like ominously, and he's like, all right. Well, if I was looking to put a bullet in Jim, and hell, everybody in the gang's thought about it once or twice after they get their ass kicked by him. what I would do is I would get down in the cauldron and maybe skirt along, the cliff face, and I'd climb up where the feast pit is, which sits kind of on the edge of that cliff. Hell, there's nobody around there when there's no fights. There's cages with animals and shit in them, but when there's no fights and when everyone's done too drunk to drink anymore and wandered off, it's pretty empty in there. I think you could probably crawl up in there. Fella could find himself right in the middle of town. Nobody the wiser.
Do I have any inkling of whether or not Wayne is telling the truth?
I might be able to do an intuition as
Hey,
I'm
why don't you
listening
both?
in.
You've told it to you. You both heard it. You could both give me an intuition roll.
I have a 5.
I got a 2.
So Lillburn, they were still building the feast. The feast, there was like a small saloon already in town, but this whole this new thing of this pit where they put people in to fight animals and shit, that was like after you left. So you're kind of like not sure, but Ashen, it would seem that Wayne is telling the truth as far as you can tell.
I'm gonna hop off my horse and kind of pull my chain back and go over and give him one of the new cans of H I got, and just kind of like use it to like dress his wounds a little bit and have a sip. It's hot out here.
He's gonna go. Oh, all right. And I think Lillburn, you probably still have your foot on his back, so he's kind of like has to twist awkwardly.
Yeah, I'm not making it easier for him. I'm just extending some water.
He's kind of like sips at it, and then he like stops all of a sudden. He's like, pff, and he almost spits it out, and he's like, "Yeah, this is the kind of thing that Lillburn used to do to folks. Give him a nice drink before he put one in him. I don't want any H. If you're gonna shoot me, just shoot me."
I ain't gonna shoot you.
He kind of waits. He's like, "All right, I'll take that H in," and he's like drinking.
Just gonna watch him drink for a minute.
Mm.
What do you think?
Yes, I mean that's pretty good H. I think I'm missing a few teeth, but I mean I preferred if you wasn't drinking it around a broken head. But thanks, friend. And he's kind of trying to look at you at Ashen. He can't see you. You're just
and I'm definitely
sort of
standing like with the light behind me, kind of like sending like a
just
halo of dust around my hooded
Yeah.
visage.
Yeah, you're just this sort of like
Just
odd
looming.
silhouette. And
Yeah, I'll even be like, don't look at them. You look at me.
I can't. You're standing on my back, Lillburn. I can't see you.
Hell, that's a good point.
The man's got a point.
He's like, look,
As
just
I
let me out.
recall, when you was a
I'll be
boy, I
gone.
told you that to make it in this life, you needed to have eyes in the back of your head.
Yeah, well,
Not yet.
I don't.
I know. I'm gonna let him up.
And he kind of rolls over. He doesn't get up. He kind of rolls over and he's like, and he like takes you in and Ashen and he's kind of just keeping his hands up and he's got his blasted right hand. He's kind of trading attention between the two. And he's like, "Hell, Lillburn, let me be on my way. I'm just gonna wander off east. You ain't gonna see me again. I'll go over to Mentor or something. I'll find me some other work."
I'm gonna toss him his knife. Ride south for 2 days. After that, do whatever you want.
He's like, where's Bess? He's like looking around for that black horse, which is nowhere in sight. He's like, God damn, I guess I'll walk south.
We can't see the horse or where it went.
It ran off in the direction it was going when you shot Wayne off of it, or hit him off of it.
Keep south.
It was riding off in the direction of Silvergate.
Yeah. Oh shit.
If we come across her on the road, we'll send her after you.
But keep south. You'll catch up with a trader. And tell him that the man who gave him his spyglass, she says that he should take you with her. With him. Pronouns, they're weird.
Oh, all right. Hell, you got it. And he kind of gives you a smile, and all it's like blood comes out of the left side of his mouth. It's like, you got it.
A 7 intuition. Do we got it?
You rolled a 7?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Actually, that's an 8. Sorry.
cool.
I got a 6 on the die plus 1 emotion.
You like, it almost seems like Wayne is like a little too agreeable. You have him in a bad spot. You know, you could easily kill him. You don't. His like reassurances are not reassuring to you.
Sure. What does the voice tell me about this man that we have unarmed and at every possible disadvantage, not even pleading for his life because we've given it to him? What is the voice saying is this man's fate in this moment?
It says this isn't a man, this is a snake. And this is a man who his only way of life is biting people.
I'm gonna give Ashen a lingering look that says, "What do you think?"
But I will say,
and sort of the final. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say your other intuition roll was also, you felt like he was telling you the truth when he was talking about that way into town.
Right, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to go.
Yeah. I'm just making, just clarifying for.
But yeah, again, I'm going to give Ashen a lingering look that says, what do you think in the sort of final analysis? What do we do about this guy?
I
have my gun in my hand.
And that's actually where we're going to call it. On that lingering look. We're going to call it there because it's a 2-parter, and we're going to be back here in a week to play part 2 and wrap it up
for a break.
Wrap this up.
The ripcord.
With this long look between these two and Wayne down in the dirt. Thank you both so much. You both are so fun to play with.
Goodness.
Aaron and Jason, thanks so much,
Andrew.
Everybody who watched.
Right?
Yeah, Duster rules.
Duster's so good.
I'll say goodbye to you two just for the second. If anyone in chat has any questions, hit me with them. We're going to be playing more games on here, so give us a follow if you want. We're also going to put these on YouTube. Thanks again to Jason and Aaron. And also, I forgot to thank them at the top of the broadcast, but thank you to Harlan, Kelly, and Jeff Tice for that cool opening art and music. Those little art cards that play. Those are made by Harlan with art by Jeff Tice, and they're great. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Any game questions, anything, let me know. If anyone's wondering about the Kickstarter, it got pushed back because the Kickstarter review took longer than usual. So now it's probably right there at the beginning of September. This game will be up on Kickstarter. And all this stuff is from the book. I'm actually with this is an adventure where these two players came up with these great characters and these great backstories, and I've just used lore and situations and things that are in the book, and to kind of put this adventure together as they're playing it. So yeah, it doesn't look like anybody's got any questions, so we'll go ahead and call it. Yeah, thanks again. I guess there's no other announcements, but we'll be back next Tuesday, same time, same players. We'll see if they can pull off a truly truly crazy message of retribution. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you around.